it's the end of the session. This is Gilda, and this is Winnie, who I was calling Willow. Sit. And this is the roadmap to success. Sit. Don't do anything. So whenever you're giving your dog a treat, make sure that you put the treat in the dog's mouth first and say the command word and only the command word afterwards. Be careful. Also, one of the things I talk to the guardians about is starting a list of the official command words. Most of us use 10 versions of each command. Come here, over here, here girl, dog's name, dog's nickname, and they have to come up with all these versions of it, and it just makes it harder for the dogs to listen. So come up with a list of the official command words, put it on the refrigerator or something, and say the word vocabulary if someone's using the word in a different version. Now also, other watchwords that we used are for petting with a purpose and passive training. Petting with a purpose is if the dog comes up and nudges or barks at me for attention, it's telling me what to do. If I do it, it validates to the dog that it's in charge of me. And part of these dogs' problems is that they think they need to be protective of their humans. And so the humans need to act like leaders. And so we do that through enforcing rules and adding structure. For petting with a purpose is a great way to add structure, where we ask the dog to do something before we pet it. So if I want to pet her, I say sit. I say it once. If she doesn't sit within 3 seconds, I'm not going to pet her. Most of us pet the dog anyways. But if somebody hires me to do a job and I come to their house and sit on their couch and don't do the job and they pay me anyways, I'm like, this is awesome. But I have no motivation to want to do it. So if you start playing hard to get with your dogs, tell them what to do, and when they do it, you pet them. Crash. Now this is a little bit different. This is called passive training. I'm going to talk about this in a sec. So petting with a purpose, if you want to pet your dog or the dog wants you to pet it, you give it a counter order. Tell it to sit or lie down. As soon as it sits, pet it under its chin and say the word sit if it sits within 3 seconds. If it doesn't, then lean back and don't pet it at all. After a while, the dog will realize when I tell the humans what to do, nothing happens. But if they tell me what to do and I do it, I get hooked up. So I'm going to start sitting in front of them to prepay for attention. And when they do, make sure you do pet them and recognize that. Otherwise, they'll go back to jumping or nudging you. Whenever possible, try to pet under the chin. Avoid reaching over the dog's head and say just the command word sit, not good sit or not good dog, sit. And Riley, I say it twice. If I were to say it to the dog as a command, I would say sit. When the dog sits, I would pet it and then say sit at the same time. So I'm telling it to sit during the command stage, and I'm rewarding it after it did it, and saying the command word again to put it all in context. So, and even if you want to pet the dog, still tell it to sit down. Passive training is what I just did there. It's waiting for the dog to organically offer you the behavior that you want without any influence from you. Don't show him you have a treat, don't give him any commands. Every time the dog comes to you, pet it and say come. Every time the dog lays at your feet, so pet it and say crash or chill or whatever your word is. Try to come up with funny command words whenever possible. Remember, dogs can read facial expressions. Every time the dog lays down, pet it and say whatever it is. So right here, I was going to do it, but she didn't come all the way. I do this for eating. I have 4 dogs. I say grub, chow, feast, and lasagna. Each dog has its own unique word to eat. So the way that I assign that is through passive training. So when the lasagna's dog, that's Max, when it's his turn to eat, when he takes the first bite of food for 3 months, I said lasagna. When he hears lasagna, there's food in his mouth. The context means lasagna means I eat. The other 3 dogs hear lasagna, there's no food in their mouth. It doesn't mean the same thing. I also do that when the dog's drinking water right now. I say agua. You can say water, or some of my clients say cocktail or Heineken or whatever you want to say. But coming up with that watchword, even though the dog knows how to drink, what if you're on a hike and there's a drinking stream, and then once you pass it, you're not going to have the water for 3 hours. You need to be able to tell your dog to drink, and passive training is the easiest way to train your dog. So I use the watchword for this one. I use testify, but you can say recognize, reward, whatever word you want to use. So that just means if somebody says recognize me, I look at the dog and the dog's standing, I pet it and say come. I assume it came to me. I just look at the dog and narrate. So don't ask because you only have that 3-second window, so you'll miss it. But the more you get in the habit of petting your dog for desired behaviors through passive training and petting with a purpose, the more your dog will offer those behaviors. And it also helps your dog helps achieve 3 things. First of all, the dog has more respect for you as an authority figure because you're rewarding desired actions or you're directing the dog to do the desired actions in order to get that affection. So it reinforces a healthy leader-follower dynamic. Number 2, it boosts the dog's self-esteem because it's not getting lavished attention for no reason. It's doing something and getting rewarded for it. Just like us, we feel better about it when we get a bonus at work because we did a good job. Same sort of thing. Dogs like getting petted, we like getting money, but we'd rather earn the money than be given the money. And last thing it does, it helps the dog practice the behaviors that we want. Sitting is easy, but if I have another dog coming by, sitting is really hard. The more we sit inside, it makes it easier to sit outside. We also talked about enforcing rules, incorporating some rules. Right now the dogs really only had about 1.5 rules, and dogs, if they don't have rules, then they kind of get confused and think that we're all peers and we have the same authority, and then listening to the humans becomes optional. So some of the rules I went over: not being allowed, the video we have above is not showing you how to teach the dog to respect an invisible boundary outside the kitchen. Another rule: not being allowed to be within 7 feet of a human who's eating at the dinner table or anywhere else. Flap is what I call this one. The dog has to sit before I let it enter out of the door. I go to the door, I say sit once. If the dog doesn't sit within 3 seconds, I walk away, sit down nearby, and wait for 1 minute. After 1 minute, go back to the door and tell the dog to sit. If it doesn't sit this time, I walk away for 2 minutes, then for 4 minutes, then for 8 minutes. Keep double length of time, but as soon as you say sit, the dog butt hits the floor, fly the door open as fast as you can. Then the reward is, listen, the human gets me the reward. After all, the dog will sit at the door as its way of asking to go in or out. I didn't talk about this during the session, but eating is the most important activity for dogs, and most people feed their dogs in a way that confuses the dog and think it has more rank or authority than them. The guardians need to eat something first. Then I would feed her next and Winnie last. So dogs eat in the order of their rank. So the humans need to demonstrate that they're first. You don't have to eat your real meal. Just get a chip, a cracker, a piece of celery, something you can eat crunchy in 5 or more bites. What I would do is go put the food in both bowls. Don't let them near the bowls. Eat your chip or cracker first, then invite her to come over and come up with a fun command word for each dog. So maybe her word is, maybe we don't use lasagna, maybe we'll call it ziti. So when she takes her first bite of food, we say the word ziti. I actually have another client not too far away from her. One of their dogs' word is Dario's, because it's a restaurant nearby that they really like. So basically, so right there you can pet and say sit.
Sit.
There you go. And so they should have different words. So when she's eating, we don't let Winnie near her, because Winnie's going to try to eat her food really quick and then stand next to her and try to hopefully make her move away by intimidation. Then she can take her food as well. So the guardians pick up her bowl and put it up on the counter. Well, that's looked at as taking away the food. What you want to do is, as soon as she walks away from her bowl, we pick it up and we dump it empty and put the empty bowl back on the floor. Now, she'll probably come and lick the empty bowl. And if she comes and sniffs the bowl and walks away, do the same thing. Hunger eventually becomes your ally. Most dogs will only skip a meal or two, and then they're now hungry and they will eat. And it's the most important activity for them. So when she gets done eating, either she eats or she doesn't eat or whatever it is, when she's done and her food bowl is empty, she needs to leave the area at least 7 feet away. Then Winnie gets to come in and we say a command word for Winnie. Maybe we call her sushi. And so every time she takes a bite of food, we say sushi or whatever the word is. And when she's eating, she's not allowed to be there. So again, the humans are acting like leaders by controlling the situation and also gaining some confidence, because the humans have my back. When I'm eating, I don't have to look around to make sure the other dog's not sweating me. The humans are going to make sure that happens. I think that's part of why Winnie barks at dogs on walks. I think hey, stay away from my humans. They're not very street smart. They'll pet anything. You're going to take advantage of them. So I'm going to make sure that they stay away from you by barking and acting tough. So the more that we act like leaders through enforcing rules, adding structure to petting with a purpose, rewarding desired actions through passive training, the more the dogs see us acting like leaders, and that's a nice ask. And when she does that, if she does that, Winnie's putting her chin on the guardian's thigh. So if she does that a lot, you can call it snuggles or whatever you want. Every time she does that, I don't know, pet her snuggles, and that can become a command word. Every time she kisses you, press her, say the word kisses or smooches or whatever it is. So the more that we come up with those vocabulary words, the more helpful. Remember to take a treat and go to every doorway in your room, show the dog you have a treat, and throw it 3 feet outside the room. When it goes out there and licks it up, say the word out. I do that with two outs for every doorway or area around the room. You can do it around the dining room table. You might want to put that painter's tape we talked around, and then throw it beyond the painter's tape and say out. Then after doing 2 for each dog, around 2 outs for every room or doorway, then I go in the hallway and I throw the treat into the kitchen. When the dog goes in the kitchen, I say the word kitchen. Throw one in here, call it maybe media, because it's the media room. Throw one there, call it den or whatever it is, bedroom. So now we can direct the dogs to leave any room and to go to any room, and just by creating a vocabulary through positive association. Let me see, we also showed the guardians how to do a focus exercise. I'm gonna, real quick, if you go to doggonproblems.com, the section is called Dog Training Tips. If you're looking at a laptop, it'll be at the top of the red bar. If you're looking at a phone, it'll be in the menu. If you're looking at a laptop, there'll be a search box on the right side of the page. On a phone, it'll be at the bottom of the page. You can type in structured feeding, and it shows you how to do the structured feeding I just talked about. Focus exercise will show you how to do the focus with all the instructions. I'd like you to do the focus with each dog twice a day, each guardian, and get to that 15-second focus within 7 days max. So just follow the instructions in that video. We also, petting with a purpose, passive training, there are videos for those as well, enforcing rules, all this stuff you can find there. Let me see, what else? The walk. So there, I believe Charlie is the name of it, but message me if you can't, and you guys call it structured walk or calm leash, you might want to check out. So basically, Winnie gets so excited for the walk, she's really excited before we actually leave. And then when the guardians are on a walk, she's already all riled up and she's going to make her more reactive. So a couple things. First of all, we can exercise the dog inside by throwing the ball up and down the stairs a couple of times from the backyard. And your first time, try one walk, try throwing it 15 times, and then see how the walk was. The next day, try throwing 25 times. Which one was better? And so we kind of figure out how much exercise we need to get her beforehand. Also, making sure she's calm and stays behind the human. That's the video I was talking about, calm leash. So the first stage, the dog has to stay behind us as we walk to where the leash is. Second stage is you have to sit before I can start reaching for it. At any point you get up out of a sit or you start showing excitement, I stop and then I give you an opportunity, sit. And if they sit, then I continue the process. If they don't sit, within 3 seconds, I walk away and the whole process starts again. The key to this is practice doing this when you're not planning on taking your dog for a walk. And what I'd recommend is you probably practice leashing her up about 4 or 5 times for every 1 time she actually goes for a walk. So it's a commercial break or you're breaking between the conversation, practice leashing her up. And if she stops and she goes in front of you and you stop and you don't go back to practice again, Winnie's like, oh my God, we're going for a walk and I totally ruined it. And so after a while, the dog figures out I gotta stay behind the human and I gotta stay calm, otherwise the walk ain't happening. Remember to play hard to get. So if you tell the dog to sit or do something and they don't do it, they don't get the reward. Also, just reminds me, Gilda, I want to say Greta, Gilda went to her dog bed, so come up with a name for that dog bed. So she went there. So this one is called Matisse. Maybe we can call that one something, another artistic word, but come up with a word. So every time she goes there on her own accord with passive training, pet her and say beach, palace, Jamaica, whatever you want to call that dog bed. And have multiple dog beds, a dog bed in every room. Make sure the dog bed that you get, make sure it's light cream, white, or light gray, no pattern. And preferably one that's like this or like that. You don't want to have, sometimes they have ridges in there and the treats get caught in the ridge and the dog can't see it. I want to be able to put it on there and have the dog instantly see it from across the room. And again, the video dog bed will show you how to teach your dog to go there, but I think you guys got it, it's pretty easy. Now the walks, we showed the focus exercise for Winnie. She gets whiny when she sees other dogs. So the whole idea is to practice that focus to the point where you can cue it verbally. Then we're on a walk and she's like, ha, ha, ha. Dog. She'll lower her head, lock in and start staring. That's what you say, focus. She snaps her head up and you go focus. And then we either turn and walk the other way or we just start doing focus every 2 steps. So don't let her look at the other dog. And if you get close enough and the other dog starts looking, she starts looking, then take note of how close you are and then recognize we're gonna have to practice this. So maybe we have arranged to have a friend that has a dog and we go out for a walk together. We incorporate that much distance and gradually collapse that distance by walking 100 yards behind or whatever the distance is, and we gradually get 90, 80, 70, and eventually you're walking pretty much together and she's now barking and reacting to that dog. Let me see, there's a Great Dane that I worked with that was lunging at the TV, so maybe type in lunging TV for searching, because she also reacts to dogs on TV. I use a lot of counter conditioning for that. I'm hoping that in about a month through the new leader-follower dynamic the Guardian's going to introduce and create, that she feels less protective. If she does, let me know. We can set up a 1-hour follow-up session and do some counter conditioning, arrange to have another dog come by, and just help her practice her replacement behavior. But for most of my clients, this one session seems to take care of it. Remember to use those escalating consequences. Remember, hiss, stand, march, leash. And they have a video on that on my website as well if you forget what those are. I'm trying to think, is there anything else we want to go over?
I think you got it.
All right, it's like I've done this before. All right. Who wants a treat? Come.
Go on, guys.
Gilda. There we go. Hey. Here. This is Gilda. Slowly coming in. Winnie. Winnie. You want a treat? Gilda, sit. Look at that. Jealousy comes in really easy. Come. Winnie. Come. One last little thing for that. Pull out. Get in the habit of pulling out one treat and say, come. Crash. And whoever comes and sits first gets the treat. Whoever comes second doesn't get a darn thing unless they give you about the same effort. A lot of us reward the dog whether they do what we want or not. So if we start pulling out like 5 times a day. They pull out a treat. Whoever the first one there gets that treat, well, you better bet your butt I'm going to be first dog there next time. And after a while, you create a competition to be obedient as opposed to competition to be disobedient. Last little thing, if I'm petting her, which I'm surprised you're not coming over, and Winnie comes over, hook Winnie with your thumb and keep her at a distance and pet Gilda as much as you want. When you get done, if Winnie protested, I wouldn't pet her at all. If she was good, then when I get done petting her, I give her my full attention. So I don't let one dog steal some attention from the other dog. I think that's pretty much it. So, for potty training too, I know that she has an accent, and I think it's probably the smell. So try to find somebody who can clean that with an enzyme. Give it a good carpet cleaning, maybe that'll do it. If not, the guardians are talking about replacing the floor. That should take care of that problem. But reinforcing pottying outside is healthy and rewardable goes a long ways towards doing that. So every time you're out and about, if you're in the pool hanging out and you see one of the dogs pee, say the word potty. If you have a treat, go give them the treat. But worst case scenario, when they potty, you say potty, you kind of have them come over and pet them a little bit, give them the attention, make a big deal out of the things that you like, and mark it by saying just the command word. And after enough repetition, the dog will offer you that behavior on their own. Well, this is Gilda, and Winnie is behind the camera sniffing my camera person's arm right now, and this is their roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog, only sometimes you mean it.